Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Location: Konoha, specific location: Konoha Bridge, time, 11 a.m. A familiar sight, Team 7 was waiting for their late sensei to arrive. Usually a love triangle would pop up, between Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura. But ever since Naruto's attempt to flee the village, the triangle was stopped. Since Naruto and Sakura were dating, as well with Sasuke and Hinata, there was no need for their everyday routine for the triangle. It was strange to them. 3 weeks ago the entire running away thing started here on this bridge, after Sakura had rejected Naruto hard on a date. Now they're finally together. On one railing of the bridge, Naruto and Sakura were holding hands, while Sasuke was just gazing at the sky as usual. Ever since Naruto tried to run away, Sasuke has been becoming more distant, from his need for revenge against Itachi. He swore to kill him, only to get the perfect opportunity. At the moment he swore to get strong to stop the Kyuubi from taking over his adoptive brother's body again. Even though it's been 3 weeks, neither Sasuke nor the rookies had ever gotten over how strong the Kyuubi was in Naruto's body. One dark Rasengan equals a huge explosion. Nothing they had ever seen before in their lives, Jiraiya informed the power level Kyuubi Naruto had, was nowhere near the power level the Kyuubi had, which showed the rookies how strong the demon actually was. It's been 3 weeks since Naruto's true identity was revealed. During that time Konoha had been hearing about the outside world, knowing how the son of the 4th Hokage was treated, and how the villagers saw him as a demon. During those 3 weeks, Jiraiya had a few of his spies form his spy network to watch over Minato's old enemies. He just knows they'll eventually come after Naruto and kill him for all that his father had put them through. When is he gonna come? Naruto and Sakura asked, irritated by their late sensei. Even the pervy sage is not as late as Kakashi sensei is. Naruto said, in an irritated voice. I bet he spends this time on reading those perverted books that Jiraiya-sama makes. Sakura said, in an irritated voice too. I guess. For once can't he just come here on time, not hours later? Naruto asked, but it seems as though his question would never be answered. As soon as possible, their sensei had finally arrived at the scene. Sorry I'm late, I got distracted when the academy was on fire, so I just saved a few lives. Kakashi apologized, as he smiled at his students. Liar. Naruto and Sakura both shouted in rage. Anyway, it seems as though you all arrived on time. Kakashi said, as he looked at his students. We did, and we waited for you again. So what's today's mission? Sasuke asked, as he looked at Kakashi. Well, we don't really have a mission. Kakashi informed, as he rubbed the back of his head, but then he looked at his students with a serious look on his face. But let me ask you a question. Do you all remember the Chunin exams? Kakashi asked. The 3 genin looked at each other, before facing their sensei again. How can we? We had to go through that stupid unfair test. We stayed in a deadly forest for weeks. Naruto replied, irritatedly. Not to mention we had to fight Orochimaru. Almost got killed by 3 sound ninjas. Sakura replied, irritatedly. We also had to fight Gaara, in his demon form. And we were caught up in an invasion from both sand and sound. Sasuke replied, irritatedly. So I guess. The answer is yes, you do remember. Kakashi said, well I came to inform you and give you all these. Kakashi said, as he gave his students forms and papers. Konoha is once again throwing the Chunin exams here, so I hope you all have a nice time and pass. Kakashi said, as he smiled at his students. With that said, Kakashi disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Whoosh. We waited hours for this, when it only took him 5 minutes to give this to us. Naruto asked, angrily. It's been said a lot while you were in a coma Naruto that Sand and Sound are coming with us for this year's Chunin exams, as an apology for the attack 6 months ago. Sasuke informed. I still can't believe Shikamaru was made Chunin, and I was the one who fought Gaara. Naruto said, angrily. I don't know why either, but at least we have another chance now to make it to Chunin level. Sakura said. So I guess we train then? Naruto asked, as he looked at Sasuke. Yes. Growl. But first, I'm hungry. Naruto said with a smile on his face. Sakura-chan, want to get ramen with me? Naruto asked. Sure Naruto-kun. Sakura replied, with a smile on her face. What about you Sasuke-tem? Naruto asked, as he looked at Sasuke. Pass. I need to train hard, I need to grow stronger, I just know there'll be a worthy opponent to fight. Sasuke said, as he left the bridge. Okay. I guess it's just me and you, Sakura-chan. Naruto said, as he gave his smile to Sakura, who kissed him on the cheek, before grabbing his arm and walking away. Let's go to Naruto-kun. Sakura said, as she smiled back at Naruto, while walking next to him, holding his arm. Location: Konoha Streets, time, 11:12 a.m., time skip, 12 minutes later. While walking to Ichiraku's, Naruto and Sakura had experienced lots of glares from the villagers. Even Naruto could tell the glares were more hateful than beforehand. I was in a coma for 2 weeks, and already they hate me more than they did before. Why do they blame me all the time? Even if I am the son of the fourth, they hate me more. Naruto thought, with a depressed look on his face. Sakura realized the look and nudged Naruto by his side. Naruto looked next to him. I know what you're thinking and you should stop thinking about it. No one blames you, it's just that the villagers are idiots who can't tell the difference between ink and a pen. Sakura smiled, you'll show them that you're not a demon, but a great ninja, Sakura said. It made Naruto smile lightly at the compliment. Sakura was right. Naruto will show them that he's not a demon, but a boy, or greater. This time, during the Chunin exams he'll show them what he's really made out of. Hey boss. Naruto turned, to smile, as he saw 3 of his friends at the Konohamaru Corps. Those were Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon. Hey, Konohamaru. Naruto waved. The Konohamaru Corps smiled and waved as well. Sakura decided to do the same, even though she was never nice to Konohamaru or his friends either, she still greeted them. It's been a while boss. Konohamaru said, with a smile, how have you been? That's when Konohamaru and his friends finally noticed Sakura, and when Konohamaru's happy expression turned into an angry one. You. Konohamaru shouted, what are you doing here? Konohamaru demanded. What's wrong Konohamaru? You've never shouted at Sakura-chan before. Naruto asked in confusion. How could you call her that boss? Konohamaru asked in shock and anger. Do you remember what she did, before you passed out? Before you. That's when Sakura went behind Konohamaru and blocked his mouth with her hands. Excuse us Naruto-kun. I just need to speak to Konohamaru and his friends for a while. Sakura said, and Naruto turned around not to hear their conversation. What are you? Konohamaru demanded, but was cut off. Shish. Sakura shushed. Whisper. Sakura whispered. What are you doing? Going out with the boss like that? Like nothing happened in the past. You broke his heart 3 weeks ago. How could you not feel guilty after all that you've done to him, huh? Konohamaru demanded, angrily. Sakura sighed. Sakura replied in a depressed tone, I know what I did was wrong. I know I mistreated Naruto-kun in the past. And yes, I know that I probably don't deserve him after all that he's done for me. Sakura confessed, but then replied this time in a normal tone, but I want to make up for it. I want to make him happy as much as all the times I have shouted at him, hurt him, and humiliated him. I know what I did was very, very wrong, and I swear I'm going to make up for it. Sakura replied, Inoichi-san erased the memory of me rejecting Naruto-kun, that was the final push I gave him that drove him away, and with the Kyuubi controlling his body. Please Konohamaru. I'm sorry for hurting you and your friends and Naruto-kun. I'm not gonna hurt him anymore, I promise. After hearing all that Konohamaru and his friends could tell, Sakura was serious about this. They knew she meant every word she had just said this minute. It took a bit of time, but they made a decision. Fine, we'll forgive you, Konohamaru said, in an annoyed tone, but if you hurt him one more time, I'm telling him, Konohamaru threatened. Sakura just smiled and hugged the young boy and his friends, saying over and again, "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." What's happening to Sakura-chan? Naruto asked, in confusion. Nothing. We just have a little disagreement, that's all, Sakura said with a small fake smile. Okay, Naruto said. He then looked down at Konohamaru, who was pouting. What's wrong, Konohamaru? Naruto asked in concern. Nothing. Nothing at all, Konohamaru pouted. It's just that it's been a while since we last saw you, boss. Udon said. We've been really worried about you, Mogi said. Naruto just smiled and said, don't worry. I'm fine, just some villagers knocked me out, that's all. Hey boss, is she your girl now? Konohamaru asked, as he pointed at Sakura, in a questioning tone. Well, Naruto looked at Sakura as she giggled lightly. Yes, she's my girl now, Naruto answered with a smile. Okay. Because she still has a huge forehead, and wanting a girl like her, you must be really dumb, Konohamaru joked, as he laughed, but his friends weren't laughing at all. Naruto and Sakura shouted in rage, as they cracked their knuckles, and prepared to punch Konohamaru. Ek! Konohamaru shouted, as he ran away, with Naruto and Sakura following him in high speed. Konohamaru, wait! Moegi shouted as she ran for them. Don't forget us, shouted Udon as he followed Moegi. Location: with Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji. During the fuss, with Team 10 Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino, they were walking at another part of Konoha on the streets after their sensei had informed of them of the Chunin exams. To be honest, Ino was pretty confident, seeing how next to her was the ticket to becoming Chunin. That's right, she looked at Shikamaru, who she figured would help them with the Chunin exams, seeing he's experienced enough as a Chunin to do so. Though she didn't realize the same with Choji, that once someone becomes a Chunin they cannot enter the same exams again unless demoted. I can't believe it's been 6 months already, said Ino, in an excited tone. This time I'll become Chunin, with your help, Shikamaru. She said. Sorry Ino, I can't. I'm already Chunin, so there's no reason for me to enter this year's exams. So you and Choji are on your own this time, Shikamaru said. Are you telling us that it's just us two? Even the three of us were a goanna. There's no telling what'll happen if it's just the two of us, Choji asked, in worry. Don't worry, Choji. I'm sure someone will replace me for this year's exams, Shikamaru replied, in a lazy tone. Hey, what's that noise? Choji asked, as he along with his teammates heard a noise, which came from down all the way the street. Down the street, they could see a small cloud of smoke, heading straight for them. A mini sandstorm, Shikamaru replied. In Konoha. Really, Shikamaru? Ino said, as she face-palmed herself for her teammates' laziness. Come here. Get back here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Closer, they could see Konohamaru, running in fear, from Naruto and Sakura. I'm sorry, I'll never joke about that again, Konohamaru apologized. Too late. You sealed your fate the moment you insulted us. Sakura shouted. Get back here. Naruto shouted. Wait. Let's just. Konohamaru was cut off by Ino. Stop or your Goanna. Ino was cut off. Bash. Ino. Exclaimed Sakura. Ino. Exclaimed Naruto, in slight fear of what the young Yakumana could do to him. Ow, my head. Ino groaned in pain, as she held her head. Konohamaru was on top of Ino, and Ino was on top of someone. Konohamaru got up and looked at Ino, Immediately fear was drawn on his face, and he went back a few long steps away from Ino, saying, "Sorry. Sorry, Shikamaru." Ino groaned. "That's not me, Ino," Shikamaru informed, as he had his arm crossed, and looked down at Ino. "Oh, sorry, Choji." Ino groaned again. "That's not me either," Choji informed, as he stepped next to Shikamaru. "Then who?" Ino looked down, to see a groaning, 13-year-old boy, with short brown hair, and lightly pale skin get up. "That hurt." He groaned. He got up, and immediately Ino saw his face. He had brown eyes, he wore a black jumper with a high collar. Underneath a brown light creamy cloak, he wore gray pants and blue ninja shoes. There around his neck he wore a sound headband like a necklace. His fringe was a little longer on his right eye, almost blocking it. He looked a little taller than Naruto. He looked down and saw Ino. "Are you okay?" he asked in concern. "Yes, I'm okay," Ino whispered, as she blushed lightly. "What happened?" he asked, as he gave his hand to Ino, and lifted her back to her feet. "That was us. We were chasing Konohamaru and accidentally bumped into you. Sorry about that." Sakura apologized, but she looked at him carefully and saw his headband. "Are you from Sound?" Sakura asked, in curiosity. He looked at her, with eyes of embarrassment, before saying, "Yes." "I see. I wasn't in the invasion, I was on a mission. I'm sorry for what my village had caused and the trouble they have caused you. We really had no idea the Kazekage was killed, and Orochimaru was impersonating him. Our peace treaty with Sand is very important. He threatened to cancel it if we didn't comply with his wishes. But we really had no idea it was Orochimaru until it was too late." "That's okay. I'm sure you didn't mean it. What's your name anyway?" Naruto asked, in his usual loud voice. "My name. Well, my name is Ayato Usagi." Note: Usagi means rabbit in Japanese, Kase. Note: Kases means wind in Japanese, the boy now known as Ayato replied. "Ayato. Well, it's nice meeting you, and don't worry, we don't blame you or your village for the trouble that happened 6 months ago. We understand it wasn't your village's fault, it was Orochimaru's," Sakura said, with a small smile. "Thank you," Ayato said before walking away. "Oh, and by the way, I'm taking the Chunin exams, I guess you've already known that by now." Ayato said. "Sure. And I'll see you at the exams," Naruto said with a small smile. Ayato just left and walked away. "I'm not so sure I trust him," Shikamaru said, with a serious look on his face. "What not?" Choji asked. "Because, remember the sound nins we faced last exams?" Shikamaru reminded. "But that was different, they were students of Orochimaru." Choji objected. "Still, something's odd about him and I'm not so sure I fully trust him," Shikamaru said. "Oh please Shikamaru, don't tell me you're suspicious already. I mean, he probably isn't a bad person, plus we barely know him and you already are suspicious about him," Ino said, in an irritated voice. "Still, I know something's odd about this kid. I'm not saying he's bad or anything, but I'm trying to say I don't trust him, and he looks odd. You're right though, we don't know him, but I will keep my eye on him," goes for the rest of the competitors in this exam, Shikamaru said, before walking away. "I have no idea what's wrong with him sometimes." Ino sighed. "His name is Ayato. I have to remember that. Well, he's cute, cuter than Sasuke," Ino thought, with a small smile, before walking away. The same went for Naruto and Sakura, as the two walked away, while Moegi and Udon tended to a scared Konohamaru. He should have known that he should have not messed with Konoha's new couple. Location: Council Chambers. It was another meeting in the chambers, as the civilians weren't sure if they'd allow Sound and Sand to participate in the exams because of their invasion they had caused Konoha. It was a terrible fight. Many shinobi lost their lives, as well as the life of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, which led to Tsunade becoming the fifth Hokage. Damage was done, and repairs cost a lot of money, which almost put Konoha into financial trouble. which made most civilians distrust sound and sand for their attack, which was why Tsunade needed them to be in the exams so their alliance would grow strong again. There weren't many people, just a few civilians, and Jiraiya standing next to Tsunade on the left-hand side, his arms crossed, and Shizune standing at the right-hand side with Taunton in her arms. Why must Tsunade-sama allow sound and sand to enter this exams? You very well know what happened to your sensei when they first attacked. Danzo reminded. Yes I do, but that was different. Orochimaru killed their Kazekage and disguised as the real leader. In all of that, Sound and Suna were just following orders. Tsunade explained. Still we must take precautions on their actions, the village has lost a lot of shinobi since their last attack. Danzo said. Then I'll order the Anbu to watch over them, they'll survey their actions and movements. Tsunade explained. This is very important. We show our allies that our grudge for the last attack is gone, and there's nothing they have to worry about. Our future for the village depends on these exams, so I don't want any of you ordering my Anbu to either assault or kill any of the guests we're having. Especially you Danzo, Tsunade said, in a threatening voice, as she eyed Danzo with a serious look on her face. If this decision of yours Tsunade leads to the village being attacked, you're the one to blame for this matter. Danzo said, as he stood up and left the chambers, along with the rest of the council. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Tsunade said, with a little confidence in her voice. Just then, an Anbu came in and told Tsunade, Hokage-sama, Kakashi Hatake is here as you requested. Good, bring him in. Tsunade ordered. Hi. The Anbu disappeared, and Kakashi went through the doors, with his normal lazy expression on. You wanted me Hokage-sama? Kakashi asked. Yes, as you know Jiraiya won't be able to teach Naruto this time. Tsunade informed. I have to wire my spy network, and keep an eye out on our guests. Also the few guests that could be Minato's enemies, I have no doubt they heard of Naruto and who he really is. Jiraiya explained. One problem always leads to the next. Tsunade said, also, I have read your records on your team. And to say that I am a little disappointed in the fact that you only taught Sasuke and not Naruto, which may I remind you almost killed your entire team, and almost got one of your members running away. Tsunade reminded. Kakashi was guilty for the fact he taught Sasuke only, which might have been one of the many things that pushed Naruto to run away. Because he didn't teach his team during the last Chunin exams, Gaara in his demon form almost killed them, if it wasn't for the student that Kakashi didn't teach Naruto. I understand Hokage-sama. I haven't been feeling alright since then. I almost lost my team because of my past. Kakashi admitted, with disappointment in his voice, I forgot Naruto has fragile emotions. I forgot how much he had suffered. I won't let it happen again, I promise. Kakashi agreed. I hope so, Kakashi. I hope so. Tsunade hopped. Then I guess we should let the exams begin. Tsunade guessed. Location. Chunin Hall. Specific location. Chunin exams room. 300 genins entered, was what the sign said in the room. Which was true. There were 300 genins that entered. It was set in the same room where the first test of the last Chunin exams was set. The only thing was there were no desks, there were no chairs, and there were no proctors. It made things interesting and terrifying for the young genins, seeing how the last Chunin exams were difficult last time, only now it could be even more difficult than last time. Many Chunins were in the room, and many were waiting until the exams would begin. Haha hey. I'm so excited. This time I'll pass the exams. And go another step on becoming Hokage. Naruto thought, as he cheered in his mind while giving his usual smirk. Naruto-kun is excited. That's not unusual. Last time he was, I will be strong, I won't let them do the fighting for me like last time. Sakura thought while smirking softly at Naruto. Last time she remembered she couldn't do anything for her friends when they were the ones doing all the fighting, and she was just standing there on the sidelines watching. Sasuke was leaning on the wall, as he was looking at Naruto, all worried, In the inside, I just hope that Jiraiya-sama was right. Let's hope the Kyuubi's chakra is sealed up tight, or we'll be facing the same thing all over again. Sasuke thought. The whole room was quiet. No one said anything, for the fact that they were too scared to, since they all already participated in the last exams, terrified, scared, and nervous. While others were prepared, the clock was going, and there was no sign of anyone else, or anybody else. Until, poof, a man who looked to be in his 30s appeared, with brown tanned skin, black eyes, and many scars on his face. He wore a black long coat, black pants and a black bandana. Not much was known about this man, or of his mistake of being captured, burdened with the scars of his accident. His name was Ibiki, the interrogation's best interrogator. He appeared behind Naruto and Sakura. So I see the two of you are here? Ibiki asked, before Naruto and Sakura turned around, and became surprised. Ah! They screamed in fear. Of course many of them were scared as well, except for a few, that includes Sasuke. Hehehehehe. Ibiki chuckled, I remember a lot of my toys I had fun with. But you're the best one I saw last time. Just because you got lucky then don't think it'll happen again. Ibiki said, pointing at Naruto. It was true, the last time they passed the first test of the last exams was because of Naruto. But they were only lucky, they had no idea what they might have in store for them. As you all know, only one contender was chosen to be Chunin. Why? Because of his smarts. And you all probably thought it wasn't fair. Well, you're getting another chance at this. So don't screw this up. Ibiki announced, as many of the contenders started to shiver in fear. All to pass this test will be easy, as I will let you off since the last mishap with the Chunin exams. Ibiki informed, all you have to do is get outside and pass. Ibiki said. Many people started to talk about what he meant, leaving them confused. By that they had no idea why they made the test so easy as to walk outside so they could pass. Piece of cake, said a genin, just go back outside and pass, that's it. This will be the easiest test I've ever done. He said, before walking through the doors. That's when immediately, everyone heard him screaming in fear, ah. He screamed, bursting through the doors, sweating everywhere in fear. See what happens when you walk through the doors? Ibiki asked everyone. Yes, I did. The man said. Medics came in and took him away. Of course you realize that this means your team also fails. Ibiki reminded. Team 4 of Konoha, get out. Ibiki ordered. One male genin and one female genin walked through the doors as they had faces of disappointment for their teammate. Now, rules are simple. Those of you who fail also allow your team to fail, cheat and you can never enter these exams again, complete it and you move on, if your team doesn't screw up. Ibiki announced. Many people began to talk again. It was either unfair or dangerous, seeing how the other genin just failed by going back through the doors after whatever had just happened in there. Naruto decided to move on, before his arm was grabbed by Sakura, and being pulled to his ear. Sakura-chan, Naruto exclaimed. What are you doing, Naruto-kun? You have no idea what's in there. Do you see what happened? Something did to him. Sakura whispered. Yeah, but I can't just give up now. Naruto said. But you don't have to do it now either. I mean, some other team may fail, we can try and learn something. Sakura said. I'm sorry, but I don't think it's gonna work like that. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Naruto said, with a smile. Sakura couldn't argue with him. She tried to, but then he moved on and went towards the doors, as Sakura and everyone started to wait for whatever was going to happen. With Naruto, the whole corridor was gone, it was all dark and nothing was there anymore. Naruto decided to walk, even though he had no idea where he was going. As Naruto walked, a figure popped up, and Naruto instantly recognized it as Sakura. He ran towards her, as she smiled and gave him a hug. See, Sakura-chan, I was right, everything is okay. Naruto said. No, everything is not okay, Sakura said, in a weak voice. Naruto's eyes were filled with shock, as he looked down to see his hand was bleeding. No, it wasn't Naruto's blood. It was Sakura's. Naruto's right arm was in Sakura's stomach. Instantly, Naruto became worried, as he looked at Sakura's eyes which were half closed. Sakura-chan, what happened? Naruto asked, in worry, as tears started to form in his eyes. It's what happened. Sakura replied. Naruto gasped, before a red light surrounded him, as he looked back to see he was outside of the Hokage's office, with the rest of Konoha on fire. As there were many shinobi dead bodies all around them, and their blood all leading to him. Naruto-kun, why, I loved you, Sakura said, before her head gave away. Sakura-chan, I didn't do anything, Naruto yelled, in worry. But you did. Naruto turned his head to see Kakashi on the floor on his stomach, his left arm was gone, and he looked at Naruto with his Sharingan eye broken. You murdered all of us, Naruto, you killed Konoha, you killed your dream, and you killed your lover, you killed everything. Kakashi said, before his head dropped on the floor. It's true. Naruto turned once again, to see Sasuke on the floor, holding an injured, or dead Hinata close to him, as tears start chunin hauled to form in his eyes. Why? Sasuke said, as his voice became teary, why did you kill her? Sasuke asked, is it because of our rivalry? Why Naruto? Why? Sasuke asked, before his head fell to the ground. All of Naruto's friends were dead, they were all gone, Konoha was gone. Naruto, we were your friends, a half-dead Kiba said, as he held Akamaru in his arms. Arf. Akamaru barked weakly. You killed Hinata. You murdered her. You murdered he. Neji yelled in rage. Someone then touched Naruto's right shoulder. Naruto turned around, to see a half-transformed Gaara, smirking evilly at him. Welcome, brother, to your purpose. Gaara shouted hysterically. No, no, Naruto shouted, as his knees gave away, and fell down to them, while holding Sakura in his arms. Everything became dark again, and by then, two figures appeared behind him. One was a tall figure, wearing mostly a black cloak covered in red clouds, while the other was taller. The one shorter than the other was wearing a Japanese straw hat, and the taller one the same as well. The taller one had a large sword wrapped in bandages on his back. He had almost a blue sharkish skin, and had a large smirk on, while the other looked identical to Sasuke, but had two curved lines on him. Note, sorry I have no idea what's it called. Naruto knew them, he saw them when they tried to catch him during his and Jiraiya's trip to get Tsunade, Shizune, and Tonton to Konoha. It was them. The Akatsuki Jiraiya had told him about. Kisame is one of the legendary 7 swordsmen of the mist, and Itachi Uchiha, the person who killed the Uchiha clan. Naruto knew them, he also knows they're after his demon. Come with us, Jinchuriki. Itachi said, you're gonna become our weapon of the Akatsuki. Itachi said, as he began to walk towards Naruto. Naruto didn't know what to say, he destroyed Konoha, he couldn't handle all the death of his friends by his hands, including Sakura. Quote, quote. Naruto didn't say anything, instead he smirked, and dropped Sakura's body to the floor, which disappeared. Poof. Naruto turned around and looked at them, as his smirk grew. I know what this is all about. Naruto said, this isn't real, I know you guys are trying to get me and my team to fail. Naruto said, as he pointed at them, then started to walk past them. Sakura-chan is alive. Naruto said, so I know she's not dead. Naruto said, as he walked away towards the darkness, and opened it, revealing light, and walked through. Poof. Poof. The two Akatsuki members had transformed into proctors, who smirked at Naruto. Well, looks like someone got smart, said the proctor. Seems as though he saw through us. I kinda miss his sweating of fear back when we put him in those phony exam papers, said the other proctor. Both of them flashed away. Back in the room, Sakura was getting worried, she heard Naruto scream and wanted to go to him to see if he was alright. She had to stop herself since she knew she might be in the way. But still Sakura was very worried about Naruto. She heard him scream and by the way it sounded like he was hurt, she was very afraid for him, yet she had to stay put otherwise her team would be disqualified from the Chunin exams. While she was kept in her thoughts, Ibiki received a call, and answered it. After a few small whispers from him, he closed the phone and looked back at the group. Seems as though Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Ibiki said. Sakura held her hands tight for him. Passed, depending on if his team succeeds. Ibiki said. Sakura sighed, relieved that her boyfriend managed to make it out of there alive and well. But that disappeared once she saw Ibiki narrowed his eyes on her. So that leaves you, kid. Seems as though you want to know how your boyfriend is, so go and check. Ibiki said, as he opened the door for Sakura. Sakura just walked through, and found herself in the dark hallway. It was very dark, all she could see was nothing, she kept on walking as she could see that there was no turning back now. She looked back to see that the door, and the other room was gone. The only thing for her to do was walk towards what caught her eyes was a door made of light, so she walked towards it. She heard moaning, and turned to her right, to see that Naruto was dirty for being in a fight, and walked towards him. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Sakura asked, her voice filled with concern. Yes Sakura-chan, I'm okay. Naruto replied, with a smile. Sakura smiled back at Naruto, but that disappeared as soon as she and Naruto heard a more mushy sound. Chsik. Naruto's face went blank, and leaned down. Sakura caught him, and looked down, only to see what appeared to be claws made of red chakra going through Naruto's stomach. Naruto-kun, Sakura yelled. She shook Naruto, only for him to lean against her, and soon felt his pulse, which was gone. She looked behind him, only to see himself, but more, changed. The Naruto she was looking at had red chakra claws like she saw when they fought him back when he tried to leave, along with 9 tails made of red chakra as well. She shivered in fear of seeing Naruto. Hello Sakura-chan. The now Kyuubi Naruto greeted, with an evil smile. You're not Naruto-kun, Sakura said, with sadness in her voice. How true, he was weak. Kyuubi Naruto said, as he looked at his body, and inspected it. This body is pathetic, I may have to make some more adjustments, no matter, my revenge has already been fulfilled, bye. Kyuubi Naruto disappeared. Fulfilled, Sakura said, as she soon saw her own shadow, she turned only to regret it. Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves, was burning in flames, many people were dead, and many were gone. She stood on the street, and turned to see the Hokage tower half destroyed while burning. Her eyes widened at the destroyed Konoha, she held Naruto tighter. She looked around, and there were many bodies she recognized. A hand grabbed her, and she looked down, only to see Sasuke bleeding while holding Hinata in his arms. She did not look good. This is all your fault, Sakura. If you haven't broken him, none of this would ever happen. This is your fault. Konoha is gone, and you're to blame. You are to blame, Sasuke said, before he laid his head down. Goodbye everyone, Hinata said, before she laid her head down. What? Sakura said, as a few tears formed in her eyes. They're right. Sakura turned to see Tsunade, whose clothing was ripped, and she appeared to be bleeding everywhere, also there was a spike in her stomach pinning her against the wall. If you haven't broken Naruto, Tsunade said, then all of this could have been prevented. Sakura watched as Tsunade's body slumped down, she gripped harder on Naruto, only for his body to disappear. She fell on her knees, and started to cry. No, no, Sakura yelled at the top of her lungs. This isn't happening, this couldn't happen. It was enough that this almost happened beforehand but now it did, and all because of her past with Naruto, she should have realized his feelings for her. She lost it all, her home, and her lover, she doesn't know what to do anymore. Don't give up. A voice shouted in her head. She stopped crying for a bit, and looked back, to see nobody. You can do it, Sakura-chan. The voice kept shouting, and she knew that it belonged to Naruto. Somehow he was cheering for her, inside of her head. She did as he told her to do, and kept on moving, and never stopped. She got closer and closer to what appeared to be a door with light covering it. It was very shiny, but she managed to get through it, and made it to the door. Once there, she looked around and saw that she was outside. Sakura-chan. Sakura turned to see that Naruto was calling her, his smile showing happiness, and he was running towards her. She smiled back. He was okay. He was never gone. She ran for him as fast as she could, and jumped on him and gave him a hug. You're okay, Naruto-kun. Sakura yelled in happiness, as tears formed in her eyes, and started streaming down. Naruto looked at her. Whatever happened to her, affected her greatly. She hugged him until her head was on his chest. He hugged her back gently, as she was crying more than before. Immediately she kissed Naruto and surprised him. Sakura returned the kiss and held her grip on him. The two proctors looked at them and smirked, as though another contender managed to go through. Looks like he's not the only one that managed to go through. One of the proctors said. Yes, it seems like it. One of the proctors said. Poof. Poof. Both proctors poofed away. Back in the room. Immediately Ibiki got another call. Ring. Ibiki picked it up, and heard what was said. So another has passed. Ibiki said. Beep. Ibiki put the phone down. Seeing how 2 members of Team 7 have passed, it's only necessary that the last remaining member goes through. Ibiki said, as he looked at Sasuke, knowing that Sasuke would have to go. Sasuke went through the door, and saw that the hallway was dark. He could only see a flashlight sunny door close to him. He walked towards the door, but then sensed the presence of a person. Sasuke turned around to see Itachi, looking at him with his emotionless eyes. Sasuke's eyes grew angry at the sight of him. Hello there, brother. Itachi said. Itachi, what are you doing here? Sasuke demanded. That is none of your concern. Itachi replied. Immediately, Sasuke ran up to Itachi, with a Chidori, and shouted, Chidori. Boom. Smoke cleared the area, and as soon as the smoke cleared, Sasuke's eyes widened at the sight of what he had done. Hinata, his lover, was struck by his Chidori, in her chest. He saw the eyes of Hinata go wide in shock, and looked one to see what he had done. Sasuke-kun, why? Hinata said. Before she slumped down, Sasuke grabbed Hinata immediately, and kneeled down to see her, her eyes closed. Hinata-chan, wake up. Sasuke yelled. But no answer. By then Itachi came over to Sasuke, and said, now it's your turn. With that said, Itachi began to move in closer to Sasuke, but suddenly, Sasuke used another Chidori. Chidori. Sasuke yelled, but his Chidori stopped, when he realized something. He saw this altogether, and of course figured out it was only Genjutsu, and left. Once Sasuke left, he looked away from the sight of Naruto and Sakura, who were still kissing, of course. Back in the room. Beep. Another Ibiki said. Beep. After that Hinata came up next, and had a similar vision to what Sasuke had. Instead this was more of her father berating her, but realized Sasuke would cheer her up. Time skip. A few hours. After a few hours everyone, well not all of them, made it. 300 genins entered. 250 failed. 250 passed. With only 250 shown up, the next part of the Chunin exams would begin. This was just the beginning. The real secret will unfold in the next episode. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hit the bell icon so you'll be the first to see what happens next. See you again in the next journey of Uzumaki Empire 2.0.